Successful leaders, great CEOs, visionaries are all people who have never given up, no matter what obstacles they come across. And they're able to do that because they have their basics right. They know what their self-worth is, says Tarun. But why is it important to understand oneself to be able to lead?
You know, the awareness can come quickly, the logical awareness in the neocortex can come quickly, but real deep-rooted behaviors rooted in the limbic system need time to change. And fortunately for us, the way our limbic system is designed, it's designed on an open loop, which means that it's open to input, it's open to influence from others. But for the limbic system, for all the motives, drives, motivations inside the limbic system, the input needs to be consistent. So, if you want to change, consistently have feedback, consistently practice, consistently seek out motivation from the environment, and that's how change happens.
In good times, you can be a successful CEO, Tarun, but in tough times, how does an exceptional CEO behave differently? And that's obviously what makes him exceptional.
You know, Winston Churchill said it so beautifully. When you're going through hell, keep going, don't stop. And enterprising people have this very deep-rooted quality called perseverance, tenacity, almost doggedness. They just don't give up. If you look at the science of success, it will tell you very simply, the moment you give up, you will fail. So, the moment you allow failure to come in, it will just creep in. Enterprising people consistently just keep at it. You know, there is this very famous story about how Christopher Columbus set out, right. The year was 1492, everybody believed the world is flat. Here was a man who said the world is round, and his vision was very simple. He wanted to reach the east by sailing west, and he really wanted to do it. And the world around him said can't be done, etc. The king and queen of Spain eventually sponsored him, gave him a boat, gave him convicts who were condemned to death to row the boat. And here was somebody who was dogged enough to say, if I keep sailing west, I am going to reach the east. And given the quality of the sailors, he had to deal with high seas, he had to deal with rough weather, occasionally he had to deal with pirates. All that, if all that wasn't enough, given the convicts he had, almost every day he had to deal with a mutiny on board. But his perseverance and doggedness got revealed when they actually looked at the logbooks that Columbus kept. Every day after dealing with whatever issues he had to, he would go and write in his logbook just one thing. Today we moved west. Today we moved west. I just continued to persevere till I got what I wanted, and he continued moving west. So, perseverance and never giving up is very simple. They asked the successful entrepreneur once, how is it that you know which opportunity to jump at? So, he says, I don't. How is it that you grab them? He said, I just keep jumping. Eventually, it's about, you know, good to great will tell you, success literature will tell you, great success is not about one big leap and the world just changing. It's about a series of persevering steps that you keep needing to do in order to get there.
And perseverance is a quality we have seen in all leaders. Take Nelson Mandela, one of the greatest leaders of our time. He fought for over 3 decades to bring an end to apartheid in South Africa. While he did that on the political stage, corporate leaders do that in a much smaller way every day. After all, they have to lead teams towards a larger goal. Behavioral scientists and corporate trainers believe that perseverance is often the unsung hero in the road to success.
Let me just quote from what Daniel Goleman in his research said, and he said it very interestingly. He said IQ is a threshold requirement. It will take you somewhere, but to really move to the next level, you need to add to that IQ your emotional quotient. And I think a lot of what we've spoken about in the series has more, we assume there's an IQ, which is why you're there in the first place. So, I think organizations that have done it well have recognized this fact well. They recognize people for their IQ and say, at this level, that's just a basic requirement. Your ability to deal with people, your ability to resolve conflicts, your ability to deal with the softer issues, the so called softer issues, is what really determines how well you make it up in the ladder. Tom Peters said it very interestingly. You know, they used to talk about number as the hard aspect of performance and culture as the soft aspect. But he said in this new realm, the soft is the new hard. The culture is the new harder aspect of the things. The numbers could be the softer aspects. So people recognize this, the importance of culture, people, environment, and still delivering the numbers.
Great. If you were to look at laws of leadership, leaders have been thrown up, many leaders have been very unsuccessful also. It's not as though all leaders are successful. Some have really taken organizations down the tube, you know. But if there were laws of leadership, laws of success as leaders, what would it be?
So the first law would be leaders, people who really make it successful for long periods of time, are deeply, passionately committed to what they do. Combined with this would be a acute realization, a rational realization. So there's an emotional and a rational aspect. A rational realization called, I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. I know what my organization's strengths and weaknesses are. Law number 2 would be enterprising people are persevering, which we spoke about. The next 2 or 3 would be enterprising people and therefore organizations take moderate risks. If you'll notice, let's look at the world's finest investor, Warren Buffett. Look at one of the most maverick CEOs in the world, Richard Branson. They were both in India last year, and I quote exactly what both of them said. You would expect Warren Buffett to talk about some crazy risks and bet the company kind of deals, but he said very simply, I never invest in a company where I am not reasonably confident of the outcome. There's a moderate risk. It's not as if it's a completely safe investment, because if you just keep doing what you've always done, you'll only get what you've always got. Existing behaviors will only give you existing results. But he says, I'm willing to take that moderate risk. Branson said something similar, which is interesting because in his personal life he's almost killed himself twice trying to cross the Pacific. But when it comes to business, he says, I never invest in a business where I do not have a degree of certainty on what the outcome will be. So they have a hope of success which is almost 75 to 80%, 20% fear of failure is high. I hear a lot of people asking me, Tarun, how do you define moderate success? 50-50 should be moderate success. And I just ask them the simple question. Let's say a project had a 50-50 chance of success. You could easily decide by flipping a coin. It has a 50-50 chance of giving you heads or tails. And that's when you realize 50-50 is crazy risk. So calculated risk is more skewed towards
80-20.
75 to 80, even 75 is considered high today. Law number 4 would be great leaders, great organizations have a very clear focus. They may not have a complete clarity of vision on where they're going to in 20 years, 30 years, but they know what is going to get them there. They are very clear on certain aspects of it.
Focus, resilience, and motivation are critical abilities that highly successful leaders strengthen through repeated practice. On the other side, we tell you how you can train yourself in these skill sets to become a good leader.